Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. All right, yeah, Bama is in absolute ruins right now. And we've also got a mess that is brewing in Kentucky that a lot of people aren't keeping their eye on, but that's where I come in. Anyway, we do need to talk about Alabama. It just keeps getting worse and worse up there.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
Yep, nothing to see here. Man, it's rough. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like this. Alabama, since Nick Saban has announced his retirement, has lost so many starters, it's getting kind of crazy. I believe they've lost 5 starters, and a lot of these guys are big-time 5-stars. When I did the show yesterday, I didn't even realize that Caden Proctor was also entering the transfer portal. He's the big 5-star tackle who was fantastic last year. Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor, Des Ricks, Trey Amos. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And actually, I'm going to show you something that was put on Twitter that I thought was pretty interesting. But before I get started, I did this yesterday, and I think it helped the Alabama people quite a bit. If you happen to turn on this and you're an Alabama fan, I did have a doorman that kind of handled yesterday's video, and it seemed to help quite a bit with the Alabama folks. So if you are an Alabama fan, the best thing to do right now is this.
Just walk away.
Yeah, just walk away. As I've always said, humongous knows best. And this video is not going to make you happy. And look, I already know things are bad. And you're probably sitting there thinking, why does the SEC care so much about what's happening with Alabama? We're going to be fine. We're Alabama. We're always fine. Here's how the SEC feels about what Alabama's going through right now. That's right. They don't care. 17 years of putting up with Nick Saban and his bullying ways. Believe me, the SEC is not going to cry any tears for you. None. And this is in Yahoo Sports. It says Alabama's transfer exodus brings harsh new reality to Tuscaloosa. That's by Nick Bromberg. As of Thursday, at least 13 Alabama players had entered the transfer portal or announced a new school. In addition to Downs and Proctor, which are just 2 gut punches for Alabama, Isaiah Bond, Roydell Williams, and of course he was their leading wide receiver. Williams, they were really looking for him to be a big part of the offense next year. Their defensive backs, I mean, they're just getting decimated. They've lost most of their secondary, which is what Alabama's known for, is their secondary. That's why a lot of these guys came, these 5-stars, these secondary guys, because they wanted to be developed by Nick Saban. Because why? Because he gets you in the NFL. A lot of the defenses that are out there these days are what Nick Saban came up with. You know, he's the guru. He's the secondary guru. And a lot of these guys that signed with Alabama, they didn't sign with Alabama. They signed with Nick Saban. And then on top of it, T-Rob left for Georgia, which Georgia is just merciless. They're over there just absolutely kicking Alabama while they're down. And I think it's because Alabama's kind of had their number. Even the 2 years they won the 2 natties, you know, they didn't have to deal with Alabama too much those years. And this year they got kicked out of the playoff because of Alabama. So I think there's a lot of animosity there. And Georgia intends to absolutely beat them down in the ashes and try to make sure they never get back up. And that's Kirby Smart. He is an absolute bully. I've told you this. That guy, he will sweep that leg like that. And as we look at the transfer portal for Alabama, of course, Caden Proctor, the 5-star. Oh, my gosh. Antonio Kite heading to Auburn. Ooh, that hurts. Caleb Downs, they're talking about, look, they've got Ohio State at 46.7% chance of picking up Caleb Downs, and I think they finished second in recruiting for him. He's the ultimate secondary guy. They've got him valued at $660,000. I'll bet he'll get $1 million. Des Ricks going to Texas A&M. Here you can see the Texas teams getting in on it. Amari Niblock, I think that guy's a player. I don't know where he's going to wind up. Look, are you kidding me? Ole Miss picked up Trey Amos. Give me a break. Lane Kiffin. And here you can see Florida State, who's had their way with the Alabama situation. Florida State's gotten 5 of those guys. They've just literally siphoned off Alabama's some of their best players.
I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
But I thought I'd show you this. This is a guy that says, not even a joke. This dude, low-key, might have a career in the field of covering Alabama football. He said the obsession's been crazy to watch. And his name's Babysitter Barry. Says this guy kept up even with the NFL draft players. Said 36 players have entered the NFL draft or the transfer portal for Alabama, makes up 42% of all scholarship spots. Depth will be an issue for the first time in over a decade for Alabama. And then it goes down the list. Tyler Buckner is doing lacrosse.
You serious?
That really surprised me. He was a top 100 quarterback at one time. Eli Holston, we knew he had transferred. And then a lot of these guys are heading to the NFL like Jace McClellan or Jermaine Burton, et cetera. But look at all the transfers. Roydell Williams, Malik Benson, Isaiah Bond. Man, look at this wide receiver group. 5 wide receivers gone. 3 tight ends gone. Offensive line, including Proctor, 1 to the draft, 3 transferring. Seth McLaughlin, he's the guy that had the yips on the hiking the ball. He went to Ohio State. Defensive line, they've lost 3. Edge, a lot of these guys. Dallas Turner, great player. Braswell, Marshall. But then 3 more, Blackshear, Murphy, Jackson. And then cornerback has just been brutal. They've lost 5 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. So that's pretty bad. I mean, that guy had a heck of a list. All I did was write it all down. That guy's put it out on Twitter. He may be worse than I am. And that's what happens when you've been pushed around for a long time. You really like to see the bully go down. And that's what's happening. And Alabama, they got up today and they were like this.
I didn't hear no bell.
That's right. They didn't hear no bell. Now we got to talk about the Kentucky Wildcats. There's a very interesting thing going on with them that a lot of people don't know about that could have a huge impact on the Wildcats football team. And yes, Kentucky does have a football team. I know y'all all think that all they do is basketball. They do care about football a little. And the reason this is a big story, Liam Cohen is the offensive coordinator at Kentucky, and he'd been brought back as of last year, and he's a good offensive coordinator. And Brock Vandagriff is a 5-star that came from Georgia, big-time 5-star, and he's sitting right behind Carson Beck, and it was kind of a battle between those two. Well, Kentucky went after him, and of course Liam Cohen went after him, and he picked Kentucky in the transfer portal. Well, here's the problem. It says one of the main reasons Vandagriff picked Kentucky was due to offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. However, Kentucky's play caller is in the middle of a job search involving the Chicago Bears. That has put things in a holding pattern. It says in a recent interview, Vandagriff dished on the Cohen situation, how the locker room's handling the situation. He said that's something a couple of the mid-year guys have talked about. He said we were texting about it. He said, honestly, college football is a business. Remember that term, is a business. Coach Cohen, I just want him to do what's best for his family because I trust Coach Cohen. I love Coach Cohen. Just at the end of the day, if that's what his future is to stay at Kentucky, then we would love that. That's why I came here, is for Coach Cohen. Football's a business. That's a second time Brock Vandagriff has mentioned business. That's important. That means he's setting himself up to leave if he needs to. He said, just whatever he does, I want to make sure he's happy at the end of the day. In other words, see how gracious I'm being about Liam Cohen leaving? So I might need you to be gracious if I leave when he leaves. That's what that means. That's exactly how that should be read. It says Cohen played a key role in the recruitment of Brock Vandagriff. Also, Jamari Macklin and Cutter Boley. Cutter Boley's a really good quarterback. He actually moved up a grade in order to be in the 2024 class, and he's a very good quarterback. He was a very high 4-star. He was looking at Tennessee, but we're all enamored by George McIntyre. This says a sudden departure could cause some players to look elsewhere if that comes. He said, but for now, Cohen is at the University of Kentucky. Said, we'd love for him to stay, and that's what we're all hoping for, Vandagriff said. And here on Twitter, Kentucky Sports Radio also said, another one and done at offensive coordinator Liam Cohen is reportedly interviewing with the Bears. This could be a very bad development for the program. I couldn't agree more. If they lose Brock Vandagriff, that's going to be a real problem because that was a great get. I mean, you're talking about getting a guy that everybody wanted coming out of high school, and he and Carson Beck, it was close call between who was going to be the starter there at Georgia. So I was actually really impressed that Kentucky got him, and he's going to be the immediate starter at Kentucky, no question. But if Cohen leaves, do not be surprised if Brock Vandagriff does hey, it's a business. You know, he set himself up for an exit in case Cohen leaves. And the money in the NFL is strong. You're going to make a lot of money in the NFL. The money's not an issue there. So we'll see what happens. I think if he gets offered the job, he'll be gone. And if that happens, Kentucky goes back to being a defense-first team that has a very pedestrian offense, and that's not going to work in the SEC. So the Kentucky people need to be hoping that Cohen stays. Otherwise, it's going to get ugly. Yeah, they're going to be upset because there are people up there that do care about football. And there's one particular guy for Kentucky Sports Radio that really cares about football, and he can't stand my Vols. And I wish every TV or radio personality of other teams felt this way about my Vols, but unfortunately, most don't. This guy does. I'll give you a little prime example of what I'm talking about.
Now we're stuck here. Mark Stoops is 2-9 against this team. And to walk around this place before the game, I was disgusted. The smugness of those guys just walking around like, we're going to walk in here, we're going to kick your ass, and you can't do anything about it. And it made me sick. And you know what? They did it. They still did it. What the hell? Can we just beat this team? I know that Mark Stoops has done a lot of good things. This is his one really bad thing. The stupid stat about beating teams with a winning record and taking the next step and blah, blah. Just freaking beat Tennessee. Please, can we just stop losing to this stupid team with their stupid orange colors, their stupid song, and their woo, get their woo on out of here.
Oh, yeah. He is not a fan of my Vols. Not one little bit. Anyway, they got to come to Neyland this year, so they'll lose again, of course. But I can't wait to see his reaction. That's what I look forward to the most, will be his reaction when Kentucky comes to Neyland this year. After the game, it should be classic.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big things going on in the SEC. Of course, Michigan. I've got my eye on Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. I don't think he's going to stay, folks. I think he's going to go to the NFL. Just my opinion. We'll see. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. If you hit this little button, it will help you get my videos. You can keep up with all this stuff. Doesn't cost you a dime. And right over here's most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. So be sure to check that out. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.